Hey, before we start, I want to ask you a question, and I want you to actually think about it. Don't just scroll past it, really sit with it for a second. What if a difficult conversation weren't something to dread? What if there weren't something to avoid, lose sleep over, or rehearse 100 times in the shower, but were actually your biggest superpower as a leader? I know that probably sounds crazy right now because most of us, when we hear the words difficult conversation, we feel something in our chest. Maybe it's a little tightness, maybe it's dread, maybe it's that shrinking feeling of, oh no, I have to say something and it might not go well. I've been there. I've sat across from one I cared about, a team member, a colleague, and even a friend, and I knew I needed to say something hard. But I sat in silence instead, and I told myself, now's not the right time, or maybe it'll fix itself. It didn't fix itself. It got worse. And I had to have the conversation anyway, just later, when there was no damage to undo. That's what avoiding difficult conversations cost you. Not just the problem itself, but time, trust, and energy. And if you're in one of those kind of leadership roles, whether you're a manager, a parent, or a coach, even a team captain, the cost is even higher because the people around you are watching how you handle hard moments. And they're deciding based on what they see, whether they can trust you. So today, we are going to change how you see difficult conversations. We are going to break down exactly why they feel so hard, give you a story that will completely shift your perspective, and walk through real strategies you can use starting today. This isn't a video about being tough. This is a video about being clear. And clear leadership, that's unshakable. Let's get into it. By the end of the video, you're going to have a completely different relationship with difficult conversations. You're going to see them not as threats, but as tools for connection, clarity, and growth. So you ready? Let's talk about why is it so hard in the first place. So why do we struggle so much with difficult conversations? I mean, we're adults. We know we need to have them. We know avoiding them makes things worse. So why do we still avoid them? It comes down to 3 core fears. Let's break each down one by one. Number 1 is fear. Conflict avoidance, most of us were taught either by our families or schools or just cultural messages that conflict is bad. That if you're disagreeing with someone or making someone uncomfortable, you're doing something wrong. So you've been trained over the years and through the years to smooth things out, to keep the peace, to not rock the boat. And look, there's something good buried in that instinct. You don't want to be someone who picks fights or creates drama for no reason. But there's a huge difference between unnecessary conflict and necessary honesty. And when we've been conditioned to avoid all conflict, we often end up avoiding the necessary honesty too. So the first thing we have to do is reframe what conflict means. Conflict isn't inherently bad. Conflict, when handled well, is actually how problems get solved and relationships get stronger. The second fear is what I call what if spiral. What if they get angry? What if they cry? Or what if they shut down? What if they turn on me? What if they think I'm a bad person? And what if they quit? We play out all these worst case scenarios in our head, and then we decide it's just not worth the risk. Better to stay quiet, better to wait, or better to just hope that it solves on its own. But here's the truth about the what if spiral. The scenarios we're afraid of almost never happen at the level we imagine them. And even when conversations do get emotional, which they sometimes do, emotions aren't the end of the world. We can navigate our emotions. You can give people space. You can stay calm. But what you can't do is undo damage caused by staying silent too long. Fear 3, not knowing where to start. The third fear is simply not knowing how. We don't have a plan. We don't have a framework. We sit down and have the conversation and our mind goes blank. Or we come into too hot, or we ramble, or we soften the message so that person doesn't feel like they're the one who's being blamed. This is actually the most fixable fear because structure is something we can give you. And that's exactly what the next section is going to do. But first, I want to tell you a story. because I think a good story does something a list of strategies can't do. It changes the way you see the whole situation. Here's the analogy I want you to take with you. Every unspoken, difficult conversation in your life is a crack in a bridge. The crack might be small right now, the bridge might still be holding, but every day you don't address it, the crack gets a little wider, a little deeper. And eventually, either the bridge fails on its own or the repair becomes so much harder and more expensive than it had to be. Your team is your bridge. Your relationships are your bridges. They connect people to outcomes, to growth, to trust. And when there's a crack, a conflict that's being avoided, a piece of feedback that's being withheld, a behavior that's going unaddressed, you have a choice. You can step around it and hope for the best. The leader who speaks up, not to cause pain, but to prevent it. Not to be harsh, but to be honest. And not to break the bridge, but to protect it. That's what mastering difficult conversation looks like.